Down one of Akihabara's many side streets in a nondescript building, you will find a showcase of some of the most expensive Sega Saturn games, not just in Japan, but in the world. In this video, we are going to be looking at some top tier shooters, some really good action games, and some baffling games that I don't exactly know why they're so expensive, but we are going to go into each and every single one of these games. Welcome to the Sega Saturn Showcase at Super Potato in Akihabara. And Super Potato actually has some of the better prices. Not necessarily on the games that we're looking at right now, but I would say in general, Super Potato has some great prices on Sega Saturn games as opposed to all of the other games for other systems that we might see in this video, but we'll save that for later. What I want to start out with is Hyperdual. There in the top right. This is a very, I wouldn't say hard to find, because pretty much every showcase I've ever been to in Akihabara has a copy of Hyperdual, and they've often been much cheaper. Now, this copy is going for almost $540. I want to say that the day I'm recording this, it's about 108 yen to the dollar. Now, the thing about Hyperdual is that it is a horizontally scrolling shooters, and longtime viewers of the channel will note that I am not the biggest fan of horizontally scrolling shooters. And in addition to that, Hyperdual, just honestly, in the little bit that I've played of it, I don't think it offers a ton of new features or anything interesting that I think differentiates itself from other, perhaps significantly cheaper games that you might find on either the Sega Saturn or on other contemporary systems. So $550 for this game seems kind of steep. On the other hand, when you look to the left, there is Guardian Force for the Sega Saturn. Now, this is actually a really intriguing game, and I wish it was cheaper because it's going for about $320 here. What I think makes Guardian Force really interesting is that you have a regular fighter. It's a vertically scrolling shooter, and you can actually rotate your turret. So you have one shot that comes out from like just something that's always shooting up from you, and then you've got a turret that you can sort of pivot left or right, and you can, I think, do some very interesting things with that. The graphics look pretty good. It's a 2D shooter for the Sega Saturn, so of course it's going to be great, although I don't think it's quite as good as some of the games we'll get to later on in this showcase. And then further on to the left, you've got a copy of Metal Slug for the Sega Saturn going for $170. This baffles me. I know Metal Slug is an amazing game, but not only are there cheaper ports that you can find, say for the PlayStation or, you know, more modern for the Nintendo Switch, perhaps, but for some reason, Sega Saturn ports of games will get really expensive, and we'll actually see some more of those as we go further through the showcase. I mean, that's almost as expensive as it would be for the PC Engine CD, which is really baffling. Next, we have Battle Garega there on the bottom right. This is my, oh my god, this is my favorite shooter of all time. It's vertically scrolling. It's sort of like steampunk World War II, so it kind of hits just everything that I would want from a scrolling shooter. It's going for $210 here, you know, give or take, my J-Contra math there. It comes with the Obi. I remember actually probably 4 or 5 years ago picking this up for about the same price from Super Potato, and that was without the Obi. So Battle Garega actually, I think, went down in price at a certain point because of the re-release that came out for the PlayStation 4. It is worth it playing it in any version that you can. There was the digital only re-release that came out. Physically, though, this is the only way that you're going to get it. Although I think like a physical version came out in South Korea, weirdly enough. I don't know why it was South Korea only, but Battle Garega, oh, it is the pinnacle of shooters. I'm just going to say it right here. To the left, we've got what some other people might say is the pinnacle of shooters. We've got Radiant Silvergun going for $260, $270. That's pretty high. Now, this does include the Obi. And what I should note is that actually all of these games include what is called the Obi. Sometimes in English you might call it the spine card or whatever. It is something that was included with all retail releases of both music CDs and game CDs. So what I mean is disc-based, or rather CD and GD-ROM based video games. So this was Sega Saturn, PlayStation, and Dreamcast, 3DO, Neo Geo CD, those kind of video game systems, basically anything before the advent of the DVD. And these can actually be very expensive. On a rare game like, say, Radiant Silvergun, without the OB, I don't know what the Super Potato price would be, but I've seen it going without the OB at other shops for about $180, $190. Now, Super Potato is going to have inflated prices anyways, but on a rare game like this, that OB can be anywhere from $50 to $60. Like, if you're talking about an expensive game like Sapphire, that little piece of paper, and that's essentially all it is with a couple of like promotional materials on it, just in terms of text, it can be worth $100 or $200 depending on the game. So whether or not that's worth it to you for Radiant Silvergun, I don't know many collectors who need to have the OB, but it's certainly, you know, there are people out there that value these things quite highly. And I don't know if actually in this footage, if I'm going to shift to the left. No. So actually, before we move on, I just want to talk about that arcade gears over there on the left of Radiant Silvergun. That's going for $280. And much like Metal Slug, it is part of this phenomenon where in Japan, these ports for contemporary systems, be they arcade ports or ports from the arcade to a home console, or games from a previous system that are coming out on what was then a new system, have somehow not only retained their value in Japan, they've actually gotten even more expensive. Now here, this is it's like an Xing or a crossing. I can't remember how you actually say the name of the company, but these are arcade ports of, I want to say it's like Image Fight and Multiply. These are fine games, but paying $280 for what are essentially ports where you could maybe, you know, play these through easier, more nefarious means, that seems like a lot to me. And they're shooters. I'm sure they're great. Now these other games here. Now, okay, all right. So let's start off with the big one on the left. That is Blast Wind. Blast Wind, I have not played it yet. Not on a Sega Saturn for realsies, but I really, really want this game. Normally it goes for about $250 or $260 if you're buying a used copy of it. This, and actually you can see it's written in the kanji on the notes there, this is a sealed copy of Blast Wind going for $870. Now that is a pretty significant price differential there, because you feel like you're spending 4 to 5 times the retail price, or I guess the used price of the game to pick up that sealed copy. So $900 for a sealed copy of Blast Wind. It's a phenomenal game, great graphics, incredible music. I don't know if I wouldn't go out there and buy a sealed copy of it, but I can see why someone would spend that much money on a copy of Blast Wind, because it is just that good. Also a Technosoft game. I didn't realize that. The same people that came out with Hyperdual. So we go to the right and we look at, what is that? Stellar Assault Double S, that's going for $180. I actually don't know much about that game. Interesting. I'm assuming it's a shooter. They seem to be grouping all of the games based on category here, because on the right there, God, I forgot how to read that kanji. It's like, what is that? Purple Dragon, Fiery Purple Dragon. That's going for $140, which seems to be on the cheap end in this showcase. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a good game, but it's one of those. There's just so many good shooters out there for the Sega Saturn that sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of them. And then here, wow. All right, we got a bunch of interesting titles here, both I think perhaps infamous and famous. So you look on the top row there, we've got 3 copies of Taromaru. This is probably the most expensive retail release for the Sega Saturn. You can see there on the left, you've got that copy going for $1,600. Yet on the far right, the copy is going for $1,100. Now, why is that? Well, if you look at the copy on the left, you can note on the little note that they've got up there, it says that it has a bit of damage to both the obi as well as to the manual. Now, in Japan, when it says itami sho, or like small damage, that often means that there's maybe a crease here or there. There might be some flaking on the edges of the manual. It's not going to be that big of a deal. On the far right, it says that there is some damage to the sticker sheet. I'm guessing this game came with a sticker sheet that wasn't uncommon back in the day. And so that's a $500 difference just because a sticker sheet has some damage to it. I don't know about you, but because I was raised on buying games at GameStop and in other retail shops in America, if a game has a little bit of damage to it, doesn't matter that much to me. I'm going to buy the cheap copy there on the right. Although, honestly, I'm not going to be spending $1,000 on Taromaru anyways, but that's just my personal preference. What I can tell you about the games on the bottom, we've got some really, really interesting games here. On the bottom left, we have Symphony of the Night, Castlevania. This is, of course, released also on the PlayStation. The Sega Saturn version is virtually the same, except for one, it suffers from some slowdown because the Sega Saturn couldn't really handle rendering 3D polygons. So I want to say it's honestly the worst version. I have it. I've played it all the way through. It is a good game. Symphony of the Night, one of the best games ever made, but I think you'll probably have a better time playing it on the PlayStation. However, what differentiates the Sega Saturn version is that it has an area on like the bottom of the castle where you find these high-level enemies that you can defeat pretty easily, so you can level up, I think, a lot faster in the Sega Saturn version than you can in the PlayStation version. Maybe that'll be interesting to you, but it's $180, whereas the PlayStation version, I wouldn't pay more than $50 for the PlayStation version, so you're gonna have a lot cheaper on the Sony system. To its right, we have Final Fight Revenge. Now, when I first found out about Final Fight Revenge, I was really excited because I played through Final Fight 1 through 3, loved each of those games, of those side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and then I tragically found out that Final Fight Revenge is actually just a really poorly rendered 3D fighting game exclusive to the Sega Saturn. It's not that great. I think it's the first game, though, where you can actually play as the character Poison. So if you really are into Poison, you can spend $360 on Final Fight Revenge. To the right, we have something that I think is even more tragically expensive. It is what is seen as the best arcade port of Street Fighter 03, Street Fighter Alpha 3. It's going for $300, and I actually can't tell. Oh no, this is the Mega version. So Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the Sega Saturn requires the use of a RAM expansion cartridge. That this version includes it. So it's got a Street Fighter 3 branded memory expansion cartridge that you have to put in the back of your Sega Saturn to even play the game. Although I'm pretty sure that you can use the generic Sega one that released with this game, because there actually are retail copies of this game that are just in the jewel case that were sold separately from the RAM cartridge. I think those are a little bit cheaper, but actually, you know, $300. It does say that this has been faded. The box has been faded because it was probably set out, you know, in front of a window, so it got hit by the sun. And you can kind of tell up if you compare the sort of the color of that Sega Saturn band on the left with, say, the Final Fight band over there. You can, yeah, it's pretty faded, but these copies can go for like $400, $500. So if it's not that big of a deal for you, if you just want to play it on the original hardware, this is something that you might be interested in. But man, yeah, I mean, Street Fighter Alpha 3, like probably the best Street Fighter. I don't think I've played one that's better, because you just get so many characters. The levels are great. The music is great. I mean, there are, I think, very few fighting games that can say that they are better than Alpha 3. On the left, we've got Deppy. That is Tri-Rush Deppy. This, I think, I want to say it's a racing game, but I feel like I've watched this a while ago. I actually don't know much about Mizupaku Daibolken. That's going for $600. Oh my god. Deppy's $330. And then we've got, what is that? Weird kanji that I don't know. That is so... Unfortunately, I just can't tell you anything about those games. I love all the other games on this showcase, but oh wow, okay, so we're going away from the Sega Saturn. We're going to the Dreamcast here. We've seen all the Sega Saturn games, but there's even a whole section devoted just to the Dreamcast. And not only that, there are also sealed Dreamcast games in here. But that is going to take us to the next episode, and I hope to see you there. I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. If you'd like to see more in-depth game hunting videos like this one, you can head over to patreon.com/jcontra, where you will get patron-exclusive videos as well as patron-exclusive articles that dive deep into the top most expensive games you will find in Japan. Hope to see you there, and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and mahalo. I want to give a special thanks to all of my patrons who make videos like this possible, as well as to super patron Zip Davis.